All righty. It looks like we are live. Welcome to the first episode of the Black Civics Collective, sponsored by the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants. Today, we're about to do some things. We're going to talk about Black civics, life, politics. You're going to meet some of the folks behind NAASD. And we're going to start, I guess, with me. I am Friday Jones, president of the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants. And with me today, you guys, we got the young star himself, the chair of our communications team, Mr. Mahmoud Shabazz. Mahmoud, say what's up to the people.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Mahmoud Shabazz, otherwise known as McAdoo, and I am the new communications chair for NAASD. Starting this year, 2024, I'm excited to be here, to be the co-host of Black Civics with you two, and I'm so excited to see what we could do this year. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, Mac, you got to give it up for our political chair. Why don't you introduce everybody to
Jerrod, Amir, Shakir.
Hey.
I don't need no introduction, do I? Come on. Y'all should know me, Yep, we doing this thing, the Black Civics Collective. Happy to be here hosting this. We're going to have a lot of fun, speak to a lot of people, and engage our folk.
So let's talk about it. So we know Black Civics, we're calling it the reboot. Black Civics initially in the very fledgling stages of NAASD, shout out to Tony Blunt and to Chris Logson. They were the original hosts with the beautiful Miss Kimberly, First Lady of Love. They were the creators originally of the first show. And the whole premise is for us to really get into what it means to do Black civics by way of definition. First of all, let's talk a little bit about us. NAASD is a 501c3 nonprofit, and the Black Civics Collective basically allows us to bring a reparations lens, right, to everyday contemporary issues that are affecting us while centering us. And so as our media arm, we want to provide education. We want to give some insight into leadership. We want to talk to people who are on the ground doing it. So, Mahmoud, why don't you tell the people what civics is?
Civics is basically the study around what civilians of a society are owed, their rights. And, we as Black Americans, we have our own set of civics, especially with relations to the status of American freedmen. And, this is a little known thing that, most Black Americans, most Americans in general do not know about. So we're here to educate, the American populace, especially our Black American brothers and sisters, about civics, in particular Black civics.
And the other part of the whole civics thing is, right, you want to be in community. You want to take on the privileges of citizenship and make citizenship count, engaging in community and doing and participating, right, in society. And so one of the things that we always want to do or be doing is helping people to advocate where they are. So, Jerrod, and I've talked about this, but I want you to share with the people, when you become a citizen of the United States, right, you immigrate, you take a test, they actually tell you that there's a whole laundry list of things that you could be doing to be a good citizen. And what we hear often in our community, all you got to do is vote. Like, you vote and then you go sit down and there's nothing else to do. But there's work to do, right, Jerrod?
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's plenty of work and things you could do. There's plenty of volunteer opportunities that you could pursue in your own community clubs, block clubs. You can be a part of your own block club on your own street to affect change. So it's as big as it's as small as doing things like that, or as big as voting for the president of the United States.
And in terms of civic groups, we know some of the old school groups, NAACP, obviously, I think they were formed in 1908. They were formed after my great-grandmother was born. But we know about the legacy orgs, obviously the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants. Folks can run for office. We know in this reparations space, we saw different people running on reparations campaigns, and we want to make sure that people know how to do that. If you came to our I think it was in Atlanta. I think that was 2022. If you came to our inaugural conference in 2022 in Atlanta, we brought Christopher Smith out to tell folks how they could run for office. Right now, we have a Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, having finished with the AB 3121 task force. If you follow their timeline, they're saying, call your senator, call your representative, tell them that we want this legislation. All of these things are part of being civically engaged. And I know, Jerrod, with you in Cleveland has a history with Black newspapers. We don't often think about engaging newspapers as a way to be civically engaged, but op-eds, which are opinion educational pieces, it's there for anyone in your local, for your local newspaper, big and small. Talk to the folks a little bit about Cleveland's history with like Black newspapers and how today that still matters.
Well, Cleveland's history with Black newspapers and publications goes a long way. We obviously have the historic Call and Post, among many others. So it goes a long way for us to be able to speak to our community directly from ourselves and not have to, basically be censored by or hindered by any other mass media that we, have to deal with otherwise. So it's important that we be able to advocate for ourselves. The history, in Cleveland goes back a long way, but and I can't speak to how vast it is right now, but it's a big part of why we're doing this and why we're forming this and basically rebooted the Black Civics Collective so we can speak directly to our people.
And shameless plug, the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, we actually launched our newspaper, right? We're trying to be part of the solution. And so folks can sign up to receive our newsletter, and you can hear from Brother Mahmoud. He runs the show in our comms team. You can follow us online, www.naasd.org, and just sign up for the newsletter. Once you sign up online, we'll make sure that you get our newspaper. And so with that, I just want to transition. Mahmoud jumped us off in American Freedmen Awareness Month. So why don't you tell the people why we started American Freedmen Awareness Month?
Yeah, so January starts American Freedmen Awareness Month, and January is significant in American Freedmen Awareness because this is the month where the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, giving us the legal status of American freedmen, freeing us from bondage, essentially, even though, we know that we had to go through the Civil War and the ratification of the 13th Amendment. So basically what we wanted to do is we wanted to educate the public about what it is to be an American freedman, what the status of American freedmen is, and, all of the milestones and the journey that our people went through in order to get that status. And the fact that we still have that status till this very day. It isn't something that's of the past. It is something that is of the present. And it is something that is going to be of the future when it comes to us getting our just reparations.
The other thing, too, that happened in January, which is why we chose it, was so January 1st was the official final Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. But any real studio heads or history heads know that there were, I think, about 3 emancipations. Like, it was progressive. And then there was the final one. But also January 31st, 1865, even though the 13th Amendment still allows servitude, which we know, that is when the 13th Amendment itself was ratified, a part of our Constitution, basically saying that neither slavery nor servitude, obviously, except for that punishment for a crime, which abolitionists are working on that part, it can no longer exist in the United States or any other place under its jurisdiction. And we know we have a lot of Caribbean islands, American territories. And so we really wanted to highlight, going into Black History Month, although I think there's some rumblings. Crystal Gordon, shout out to Crystal, who's on our comms team. She put together some really, really beautiful informationals, and it's worth sharing. And so I think we're going to continue with American Freedmen awareness. And so many times culturally, people just want us to be American, and
Mm-hmm.
even within American culture, whether you're Italian American, Chinese American, Japanese American, Indigenous American, there are subcultures within American culture, and American Freedmen is one of those things. Whether you are down there in New Orleans with some of the music that has come out of there culturally, whether you are on the Cipolo Islands down there, off of Georgia, whether you are Gullah Geechee folk in South Carolina, we all have these little twangs and how we talk and how we prepare our food. And, it's the little things, and it's our people in community that we also want to lift up. And with that, I don't know how good my camera is going to perform, but I wanted to give just a little memorial to Bobby Jean Anderson. Bobby Jean Anderson passed away this December 30th, 2023. And this is Miss Bobby Jean. But when I tell y'all Bobby Jean was a force to be reckoned with, she is American Freedman, born in the South. Her obituary, she did so much. She legit has a whole 2-page. I don't know if y'all can see that, but she legit had like a whole 2-page obituary, right? About her being a mom, about her she wasn't an attorney, but she worked as support staff for an attorney. And so when she would hear that people needed things, she would be with her little attorney friends like, hey, we need to work on this. She worked with the 110 freeway, we know here in California, ran through Black community like so many other parts of the country. It ran over her house. And she reached out to Maxine Waters, who was early in her career, and they became good friends. And then the list just goes on and on with SEIU, with being appointed, with working with President, what is the one here, the Black one? What is Obama, with working with President Obama. So she has just lived like this amazing life. This mom, who was married from South LA. These are the kind of stories too that we want to tell. We have some phenomenal people in community, including Jerrod, including Mahmoud, including the Crystal Gordons, the Danas, Najee, Mark Stevenson, who you guys are going to meet a little later. And so we really wanted to get into a space of honoring our legacies. And there are some folks on social media you should follow who really do good things in remembering us. We want to be a place where activism kind of meets the road. We want, again, folks to advocate and where you are. Let's do that, but let's be proud of each other. Let's be that beloved community that Dr. King talked about. So anyway, that's what we have on American Freedmen Month. And again, I'm just going to follow us on social media, whether it's Twitter, TikTok. We getting a TikTok together.
Mm-hmm.
The young guy Mahmoud is gonna work us older folk out on the TikTok. But follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Obviously, we're live on Facebook and Twitter right now. We also follow us on LinkedIn because we talk about our goings on, and we are at NAASD org, including on YouTube. This first broadcast will not be on YouTube, but we will, once it's finalized, we'll go ahead and we'll post it over to our YouTube channel, which should be live a little later this week. And so stay engaged with us so you can see the graphics, you can see the different stories, some things you may be familiar with, some things you may not be familiar with, but if you follow us, you'll definitely learn a thing or two. So, all righty. I did our little plug. And so the next thing is, I think we're going to bring up Mark. The other M. Mike is also, he's our treasurer, but he's not on today. We have our VP, and you guys can go ahead and do your thing.
Okay, well, yep. As Friday just stated, we are bringing up Mark Stevenson. And Mark is a 20-year veteran of the United States Navy, an entrepreneur, and community activist. Professionally, he has worked as a data analyst and human resources director. Currently, he's employed at JP Morgan Chase, where he serves as the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Civically, besides being an active member of the both Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity and the Columbus, Ohio chapter of the NAACP, Mark serves as the vice president for the NAASD, and Mark has worked on campaigns for both the GOP and the Democratic parties, serving as a data analyst and field organizer for Obama for America in 0708, campaign manager for Judge Stephanie Mingo in 2021, and field organizer for former U.S. Senate candidate and congressional candidate Morgan Harper in 2020 and 2022. Mark holds an MBA in project management from Post University and a bachelor's in management in information systems from Fort Valley State University. So let's bring in the NAASD National Assembly American Slavery Descendants co-facilitator Mark Stevenson, the guy who brought me into this whole thing. So just blame him. To everybody.
Hey, that I appreciate that, Jerrod. That was a nice segue. Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
What's going on, Mark?
Huh?
I said, what's going on, Mark?
Not much. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that we have relaunched Black Civics Collective. I hope people will tune in to learn some things as we go through this journey, especially this year, because this year's election year. So make sure that you stay informed, because we're going to keep you informed, and hopefully you make a educated decision when you go to the polls to vote, or if you decide that you want to abstain and not vote. So just make sure you're informed.
You said it. We're going to stay informed. We're going to keep you informed so you can make an informed decision of what you do with your vote and how to be civically engaged. And that's perfectly said. And with that, McAdoo, you going to read the other bio?
Yes, I will. So the other guest that we have happens to also be one of the co-hosts of Black Civics, and that is our illustrious president, Madam Friday Jones. KJ Muhammad, also known as Friday Jones, is the founding member of NAASD. KJ is the author and publisher of the self-help memoir, The Real Friday Jones. KJ is the vice chair of the Los Angeles Reparations Advocacy Commission, as appointed by Mayor Eric Garcetti, and served as the budget advocate for the city of Los Angeles for the fiscal years 2019-2020. KJ has over 20 years in business management with an emphasis on managing her net worth, $5 to $200 million, individuals, and entertainment clientele. KJ has worked with the Grammy Awards winning artists, studio heads, and managing directors at Goldman Sachs West. In addition to handling the day-to-day affairs of her clients, KJ has managed multiple state commercial real estate portfolios, oversaw the construction of a production soundstage in Canoga Park, and is the initial constructor of the hospital in Papua New Guinea. KJ is a proud graduate of Howard University, and most recently, the Los Angeles African American Women's Political Institute of 2020. Welcome, KJ.
Thank you, guys. It's so funny. Every time I hear my bio, I'm like, oh, I sound like, all right. I've been here for a while. I've done some things. Anyway, it is my pleasure to be here.
A little song.
I know, right? Like when you hear people say it out loud, you be like, ooh. Anyway, but it is my pleasure to be here as a guest and host on the show. You know, we wanted really people to know about our organization, some of our past works. Obviously, we are a membership-driven organization, and in 2024, this year in particular, we're going to be looking to expand our membership. This work started, I think, in 2019, and I wasn't in the chat, that Discord chat with you guys, Mark, but like some of the older heads in the reparations space were in that Discord chat that wound up turning into a group on Twitter, and that I did curate a little bit with folks who were activating in community. And from that little group of organizers whose first mission, I think in Juneteenth, was to just see if we could get like Juneteenth and the hearings, those congressional judiciary hearings on HR 40 trending. That was like our first action, and we were so proud of ourselves, and we're still here all these years later.
It's been a labor of love and frustration. So yeah, it started in the Discord chat group, and here we are, almost 5 years to the date. To be honest, 5 years. We've been doing it. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, because I guess because we're still in this fight, and we're still at the beginning stages. But it's been 5 years, and that's how fast politics works.
It's been 5 years, but we've actually done a couple of things. I mean, Biden was elected. We put out our presidential priorities, which those were 12 policy memos. Of the 12 policy memos, Juneteenth happened, but we met with the Biden administration and talked about the need for an executive order for a reparations commission. We definitely increased the number of congressional leaders who were pushing for HR 40, because I think at one point we were just calling them out. Like, particularly if you were Black and like you hadn't signed, or if you were a Democrat, we really just kind of had these campaigns going before we were fully formed into an organization. But just as part of the movement, we as individuals were like, well, let's do this and let's try that. And so I think we definitely contributed to the traction behind a federal bill for reparations. And obviously, as the descendants of persons enslaved in the United States, that's one of our primary directives, because Reconstruction was just not done well, right, if at all.
Not completed.
It was words. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's amazing that, still here, still standing. So I'm going to go ahead and ask y'all a couple of questions. I guess we got to kind of speak about, and y'all alluded to it a little bit, some of the highs and lows. So what would you say is like the high point? What you say is a low or a challenging point, and that you reached in this time that y'all been doing it?
I'm gonna let you go first, Mark.
Let's see.
I might as well start
some
it
of
off.
the highs.
You might all start.
I know, right? Some of the highs. I think the public perception around reparations has shifted from when we started in 2019 to where we're at now. And I think a lot of the online activism had a lot to do with that. People were calling out politicians and cornering politicians and doing all those things. So I think that really kind of sparked what's going on. I think people getting actively civically in their communities has been birthed out of that. You see more people showing up to town halls and city council meetings and in their local areas, and just the ability to continue to push this envelope and policies. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, would I be in the Eisenhower building or at the White House talking about reparations, I probably would have laughed at you and said, man, get out of my face with that. But that's where we're at. I think the census, having them look at SB 15 and try to change how they disaggregate us. That is one of the things. Shout out to California. You're the first state in the country with gets their data disaggregated all the way down to us. So it's not just flat Blackness no more. And also just pushing reparations. People been on the ground doing this, on the line, whatever. and I think this is good. So I you know, those are the highs. Some of the lows, I just think a lot of, with anything you get chaos, right? Even the midst of in the midst of greatness, you get chaos, and sometimes I think people get so passionate about what it is that they want to work on that it takes away from the overall collective. And I think that there's a lot of work to be done in this space without having to, you know, go at another group or something like that, just because, you know, you may not agree with them 100% of the time. But as long as we can get to that 80% thing, I think we'll be okay. But I think, but I also think that you know, as people come, people go, and sometimes that's a good thing as well. You know, you find diamonds when you're not looking. So you know, we found some diamonds, and we're gonna continue to keep this thing moving and keep it pushing. Because if we don't do this work, you know, nobody's gonna do this work. So those that are in the reparation space, keep doing what you're doing. No matter what organization you're a part of, just stay in the fight, and hopefully we can all sit down amongst brethren eventually and hash out all these little innuendos that kind of keep us separated. So I'll leave that one. That's where I'm at on this.
So I'll hop in here. You know, I think considering the fact that we are a fledgling organization, for us to have really done the level of work, and in terms of work, I mean, including the leaders that have come out of this organization, there have really been some rock stars that have come out of the organization, whether they are still here or not. For me, that's a high. Being able to be in the room with people trying to figure reparations out, and to be able to say, unlike my grandmother, who really, she was born in, it's debatable, 1905 or 1906, but she was born in the early 1900s. She lived until 2012, and she carried with her some shame, right? Some shame of that slave experience, the sharecropping experience. And I'm glad that we're in a time where you can say, yeah, I'm a descendant of persons who were enslaved in the United States, with your chest out, with your chest fully out. And just like everybody else has an American story, I am so proud of this movement for people really embracing their families and their folklore and where they come from. And everybody, for the most part, come from the South. If you dig back enough and you are American freedmen, your family leads you back to the Black Belt in these here United States. And for us to really just be able to celebrate with each other, whether online or in person. And I've made friends across the nation, or associates from across the nation, who have the same level of pride with self. That to me is like non-monetary bonus that has come with this movement. And then as an organization, I mean, you know, in 2022, we were in Atlanta with our inaugural tongue twister, inaugural summit at the what is that? The National Center for Civil and Human Rights. There were original writings of Dr. Martin Luther King that people were able to absorb and see. Some of their immersion, I guess exhibit. It's an exhibit where you are immersed and you put on the headphones and you sit at a counter. And the United Martin family has some of our Martin cousins who were the people that were pictured at the Woolworth counter, who like lived that. So to be part of a family where I see my work kind of intermingle with like real life is such a powerful thing. You know, we had something that we don't talk about, or sometimes we don't see ourselves culturally, with Sasha King. We did our lineage repair and genocide training. That speech, and the speech that she even gave, and the reason we had her do something else was because the speech that she gave in Atlanta was one of the best and most asked for components to that work that we did there. And we partnered last year with the National Volunteer with Nita's organization, National Volunteer, I think, Foundation for American Freedmen. And we were able to go into Houston and to Galveston and do a reparations march in the Acre Home Parade with Mayor Turner down in Houston. And even more emotional was the walk that we did where the final Emancipation was read down in Galveston at the courthouse, walking from that courthouse to that first AME church where that was the birthplace of Juneteenth and the celebration. And for us to be invited into the church and see all that beautiful woodwork that like our ancestors, they built from hand, and the workmanship and craftsmanship that culturally, I mean, my goodness, when we did our ancestral send-off, I think everyone who had attended that with us was really, really emotionally moved and blown away. And so for us to be able to sort of do these, again, culturally relevant things, for me, that's always a plus. You know, we are a 501c3, so we do educational based trainings, and some of these trainings mean you are walking in the history. And for us to do that together, you know, and again with a sense of pride, is just amazing. And you know, some of the negatives for me, I will agree with Mark. The lack of unification, but I'm very encouraged by Justin Hansford. He runs the Thurgood Marshall Center at Howard University. He's also a Howard Bison. He gave testimony in front of Washington, D.C. when the District of Columbia was trying to figure out whether or not they wanted to do a reparations commission. He talked about the classifications, actual people who were enslaved. And yes, some of the people are still alive because peonage and slavery went on and is documented well into the 1960s America. So there are actual people who were enslaved in the United States who are still alive. The descendants of the persons who were enslaved are their own classification. And then we kind of have like these policies that have affected Black America. And there tends to be this separation in the space. But one of the things that Justin Hansford talked about was creating a fulsome report and having specific repairs to those harms. And I think that as we move forward in this space, it's important for what we might classify as harms and race-based advocates to start talking to their legislators to make sure that those classifications are really spelled out in an informative way in policy, so that we as lineage-based advocates can see ourselves in the policy. I think that is the best way to try to have some sort of unification in this space, because the OGs, the legacy people, you know, those folks who were teenagers when we were but twinklings in our father's eyes, some of those people really have been in this space for 30 and 40 years. And so we are building on top of their legacy. And we want to not have the father-son, the mother-daughter experiences in the movement where, you know, I don't understand your music or your language. And then you jump over a generation and then you got so much love for the grandbaby. You can't talk to your own child as an adult, but you got all this love for the grandbaby. And we've got to have all of the 3, 4 generations working together, speaking the same language and moving on one accord. So that's my hope, because the lack of unification at times and some of the fighting that goes on, it really diminishes the work and the progress.
Okay, so I have a question for you too as well. So what are some of the accomplishments that you look forward to in 2024 and going beyond, you know, whether they're little victories like getting more people civically engaged and ready to vote in this upcoming election, or major victories, you know, like last year with the OMB, going before the OMB, and, you know, advocating for our distinguishment as a ethnic group?
I would say my hope is that Black folks will lead the Democratic Party.
Mark, you started some mess. You know you started some mess.
Listen,
too.
hear me out.
Pause for like a hot second, and then you just hit the gas.
Hey, all gas, no brakes. That's how I love it. No, I really want Black folks to understand that the two-party system doesn't work for us, and that we have to be, if we're going to be in these political parties, we have to have like a three-pronged approach. We got to have independents, we got to have conservatives, and we have to have liberals, but they got to be Black. And your politics got to be Black first, because that's the only way we're going to get things done. And if we don't come with that approach, then we see what's going on. We see the rolling back of affirmative action. We see the rolling back of, and you spoke about DE&I earlier when you introduced me. That field is being gutted. DE&I, as we know, is no longer a precursor for them to look for diverse candidates in the workplace. So when all the avenues and all the things that we have for us are being gutted, we have to take a different political approach to what we're doing. If not, we're going to become invisible. And that's what they want. They want us to be invisible, because when we express and use our voices, we're the loudest. And we can't get that. So that's my hope moving forward, is that we can continue to put out this political education to people, so people can understand laws. I think that we're in the political process, but we don't play politics. We understand the voting process, but we don't vote. We don't weaponize our vote like other groups do in this country. So I think that is what I'm hoping, and I'm very optimistic about, because the voices that are starting to talk weren't talking like they're talking now 4 or 5 years ago. When we were saying those things, it was y'all trying to get Trump elected. No, we're not trying to get nobody elected. What we want is whoever is elected is that they do some things for those who have been here since emancipation, whose families helped build this country and the wealth that it sits on, and for those who came Johnny-come-latelys, who came later on, who are basting in the spoils of being in these United States now. They should understand that there's a debt that is owed to the descendants of those who were formerly enslaved in this country and who were emancipated. So and after emancipation, there was a whole period of black codes and Jim Crow and segregation and separate but equal. We got a whole history that needs to be repaired. And so that's my hope, is that people will recognize what we're trying to do and understand and weaponize your vote. And let's finish what Martin said. He said, we're coming for the check. We telling them to cut the check. We ain't coming for it no more. The check needs to be cut and it needs to be deposited into some accounts around here. So, and I don't care who does it.
All righty, Mr. Vice President, my co-facilitator in NAASD crime. So honestly, for just to sort of piggyback on that, one of the things that we have put into the ethers is our Black experience in the United States of America survey. One of the things that I realized very early on when entering the reparation space was that some of the older organizations had not done any sort of like research, particularly in the Black Belt. A lot of, like I said, folks, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, but my folks are from down south. And it's apparent to me, it was apparent to me very early on, like in 1999, 1920, that no one had bothered to ask the descendant population what's wrong in their community and what do they need today. And for me, it hit like a pile of bricks, because one, my grandmother, I told y'all my great-grandmother died in 2012. My grandmother is still alive and she's 95 years old. I am still connected to the family, some family members down in North Carolina, in the small town that we're from. We're from Halifax County in North Carolina, which has about 50,000 people. But that county is made up of small townships, and some of the townships only have populations of like 2,500 to 3,000. That's the size of my high school. That's the size of the high school that I went to, for perspective. And when my grandmother was a child, there were not buses that ran in that township, and there are not buses, if you will, that run the circuit of the county, right? To just make a whole circuit once, twice, 3 times a day around the whole county. If you drive around the whole county in a circle, it'll take you about an hour, right? Maybe 2 hours. And in 2023, so in 90 years, there's been no progress, right? And so they have community colleges, they're traveling nurses, there are some other 4-year schools that take a little bit more effort to get to. But how can we make progress when in some parts of our communities, there has literally been no progress in 95 years? And it was really important for us to not just put together a survey for Black people. We're nonpartisan. We really don't care if you're a Green Party, GOP, Democratic Party. It doesn't matter to us what party you might ascribe to, what politics in particular that you ascribe to. But more often than not, when it comes particularly around election time, you'll see different organizations, Black-run organizations, doing these surveys, and they put up in terms of asking what you need in very broad strokes. And they also put up questions that to me feel like party platforms. And we're not interested in that. Our survey, we've done a very good job because of us having written the presidential priorities. We've done a good job at teaching different policy memos, right? Teaching different ways that people can learn how to write a policy memo and then go to your locale, your state, whoever, your federal, whoever, and advocate for yourself. Take what we teach you and go out there and advocate. So to Mark's point, we put questions on this survey that don't just say, is your main priority education? But we ask, do you want to see in grades K through 12 wrap around health, mental health services for young people? You know, we don't just ask a generic, do you want to see infrastructure in community? It's like, do you want to see transportation, high-speed internet? We try to drill down a little so that people can be like, yeah, that's the thing we need. That's the thing we need. And then we want to prioritize it in a way where we can have someone from Texas calling their state their congressional representative or their senator, while someone in New York is calling and they're asking for the same thing. And even though they're not necessarily in the same locale, we're getting it to the point where we're moving to asking for things for ourselves as a community. We pay good taxes. You have to service all of your constituents. So for me, that's one of our hopes, that, as Mark said, we weaponize, but we also educate and learn. And so we have in different chats, in the Twitter chat and the Facebook chat, you can go to surveymonkey.com/r/NAASD 2023. That'll take you directly to the survey. We've been putting it up on our social media. So again, you can follow us on social media at NAASD.org, because that survey for us, centering American freedmen, talking about our needs, I think will be more telling than any other survey out there today. And we want you to share it with your church friends, your Delta Sigma Theta, Omega Psi Phi, whatever sorority, fraternity. You got kids at college, the grandbabies are at college. Make sure you all are sharing this in your household and in the communities that you live and work.
Thank you for that, Friday. That's very powerful. And Mark as well, what you guys said. And please, everybody, go ahead and take that survey. We really need to collect the data on our people so then we can go and basically use this to advocate. This is what we do. We can present these to the different different factors and advocate for ourselves. And it was perfect what you said Friday. Reparations is a nonpartisan issue, bipartisan issue, nonpartisan issue. All political parties should support. Doesn't matter if you're red, blue, green. Uh, if you're serious about making this nation whole, then we believe that reparations is the key and the goal. So, with that being said, before we wrap up and wind down, is there anything else you all want to say? As you know, we're going to take advantage of having both presidents of NAASD here. I have to, personally
Yes.
give them both so much props and gratitude for bringing me along as a young advocate in this space, showing me what it is, helping me to realize my talents and abilities and how I could affect change and be a part of this. And, it's a lot of people who just left the gate and the door open for me. I just came through. So is there anything y'all want to say to people while we have the chance to have y'all both on here to speak for this organization?
Yeah. I would say we have swag on our website, www.naasd.org. There is a link on there that takes you to some swag that we have. So we got some Lady Liberty stuff. If you see the icons on Friday and Jerrod's actually in their little picture frame, you will see the Lady Liberty. So we got some hoodies, we got some t-shirts, we got some swag stuff. So yeah, y'all go check it out. Like I said,
we also got to tell them about how we sort of came up with that, Mark. There was a whole thought process, behind it. And
Lady Liberty. If people don't know who Lady Liberty is, that was the gift from France to the United States that represented those of us who come from those who were enslaved. It was an emancipation piece. So for those people who think it's something else, you need to go look at the history of Lady Liberty and why it's in New York. That if you ever go to Ellis Island and you actually take a trip over to the Statue of Liberty, the history is there. It's there. So don't listen to all these people online. Learn why Lady Liberty is in the harbor in New York. And so us, being that we are from those people who were emancipated by the 13th Amendment, we decided that we were going to take our spin on Lady Liberty and kind of spin it and make her look like what she should look like, a Black woman. So in our hoodie, Lady Liberty is a Black woman. So like I said, we have these. We have a few hoodies. We got some t-shirts. It's going to be a lot more swag as we go along. That's going to come into our little thing. We're going to have a lot of stuff that is themed towards being a freedman. So check out our swag shop at www.naasd.org. There is a link that says shop. You can just click on that link and it'll take you to the Lady Liberty collection. And you can see some of the pieces that we have. We're going to have new things coming in as we go through this. But just check it out and so support the store, and all that stuff that you all buy helps us out to be able to do the work that we do. So so check it out. Check it out. So the hoodie is dope. The Lady Liberty hoodie is dope. I'm about to order one myself because I like that Lady Liberty one.
Yeah, that's gonna be a limited edition. That was not gonna be up for too long. That's gonna be a limited edition. The other thing too, with that, America loves to say, or I should say politicians love to say, we are a nation of immigrants. And there is some truth to that. And I have said this publicly. I've said it in interviews. People want Ellis Island to be a place that somehow forgets about the African American, and the financiers the American financiers that helped bring the artist Bartholdi's vision of Lady Liberty to life did not want him to have the chains on Lady Liberty on her hands. Her hands were supposed to be breaking free of chains, and that was eventually changed to a tablet and the torch. And the slave chains were put on the feet where you really can't see it. You can't see it in plain display. You have to know that they're there because they are hidden sort of in plain sight. And so it was important for us to start having conversations with different communities that may come from immigrant populations to understand our American story in a way where you can understand that the United States government weaponized your ancestors against our ancestors. And in the period of the ending of the Civil War from maybe 1865 to about 1920, there were, according to, I think, the 1890 census, there were about 4 million African Americans in the South. Through Reconstruction, we did gain some strides in different political positions. Locally, in some locales, we outnumbered other populations, and 26 million ethnic Europeans were imported into the United States. And those ethnic Europeans were imported into the United States to ultimately diminish the voting power and the political power of the African American. And so there was a period of time where ethnic Europeans were coming in mass, and this was the land of the free and the home of the brave. And then once 1910 came and they opened Ellis Island, and it was like sort of opening of the floodgates. Well, 1919 is when the Red Summer was. So you had all this influx of ethnic Europeans, and then you had one of the bloodiest periods of time in American history through racial terrorism. And so we want to be able to talk about that. And so having a Black Lady Liberty allows us to do that, because now we center the gift. We center what the French gave, and we center it around ourselves so that we can open up discussion again to expand people's humanity, so that I can look at you and hear your immigrant story, and you can look at me and hear my American Freedmen story, and we can somehow figure out how our politics can align. Black Americans in particular have done some heavy lifting in this country for other people. From 1920 to 1968, that period of time, we had multiple waves of ethnic Europeans immigrated here. But once we got some political power in Congress, the Congressional Black Caucus actually brought diversity to immigration and expanded not just for Black people, but for some other populations to also be able to immigrate here. And so Lady Liberty gives us the ability to have really, really strong conversations that might otherwise be difficult, because we can steep it into the history. And so I just want to let you guys know that we are looking for members. We are looking for people who are dedicated to this work. And so we're going to encourage you to just stay in touch with us on social media, check out our website from time to time, share our newsletter to other people that you think might want to hear some of the things that we're talking about. Take our survey. We are a service organization. We're here to better our country. We are here as citizens. We are unapologetic in who we are as the descendants. And our work and our mission ultimately is reparations for that particular class of people. And if you can rock with that, if you understand that, stay involved and stay engaged with the activities and the things that we do. We have some other things coming up for 2024 that we can't quite get into just yet, but you want to stay engaged with us on social media and through our website.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Friday. So we have an announcement before we leave. Black Civics Collective will be returning on Sundays, twice a month. The next show will be on February 11th. That is a tentative date, I believe. Or is that for sure?
February 11th is our next show date at 3
Okay.
p.m. Pacific Standard, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard.
All right. So
It's gonna be our
make sure you
February
guys tune in.
Black
Twice
History.
a
It's
month.
our Black History Month. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So does anyone have any closing remarks before we leave?
Like I said, follow us on social media at NAASD ORG. Also, subscribe to our YouTube. We are going to multiple stream, but we want to build our concentration of media followers, if you will, specifically in the YouTube channel. So you can go to youtube.com/@NAASD ORG. Make sure you subscribe.
And subscribe to the newsletter on the website.
And yeah, thank you both for being a part of this. Mark as our first guest Friday, as well as being a guest host. Obviously, McAdoo for all that you do. Everybody behind the scenes. I'm not sure if everybody knows, but we have a strong team behind the scenes. So shout out to Dana, Crystal, Najee, Anita, everybody who's been a part of this, is being a part of this, Raphael. Yeah, happy to be a part of this, happy to be doing this. And, I've been blessed to be in the position that I am. And it all comes from, honestly leading in good faith and doing the work. So I encourage other people to do the same. I believe that, the ancestors will bless you for doing that. And that being said, if Mac Friday, y'all ain't got nothing else to say.
No, I just want to kind of echo what you said. I'm privileged to be here. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that we can use this as a vessel to educate our people and get them civically engaged. And like you said, I want to thank everyone behind the scenes, everyone on the stage. We're the glue that keeps everything together. So everyone should give themselves a round of applause.
All
right. That has been the first episode of the Black Civics Collective. Follow us on YouTube at NAASD ORG. We will see you I'm already in September, February 11th for our Black History Show. You guys have a good evening. Until next time, peace and reparations.
Reparations.
Peace out.